Yeah, better watch what I say now. Well, hey. All right, it is 5 o'clock and it is April and this is the Wharf District Council. Welcome, everybody. We have some welcome guests and Councilor Santana is on his way, as we understand. We have a good crew here and a number of people on the line as well. And so I think we should start out. Officer Ciampa, if you'd like to update us on what we should know about what's been going on in the district over the last month.
Sure, I will do that. Thank you, Mark. Hope everyone's doing well. It's nice that the weather has turned for the better. Everybody's out enjoying it. We just completed the marathon yesterday. Believe it went pretty successful. I was running it, so I'm unable to really report, kind of what went down on the field, but I can tell you it was hot running it.
Have you done it before?
That was my fifth.
Yeah.
And most difficult, but by a lot. It was hot. So I know we had a lot of runners into the medical tent and a lot of walkers out there. It affected everybody that I know that ran it. So it was challenging, but to be a spectator, great day. Public safety wise went well, so most importantly, and it's such a important day here in the city, obviously, especially on that day on 4/15, and it was really nice. So, but we had every officer out there working that wasn't running or on vacation. You had to work, so we use all our resources, outside resources and everything, and happy to report that no major issues.
Officer Ciampa, can I just add a quick note? Thank you and congratulations. We always have a lot of marathoners come and take the harbor cruise the very next day, but we were shocked that there were runners after the marathon who came down and put the 4 o'clock harbor cruise. I thought, why aren't you collapsed on your bed? They came down to the waterfront to have a drink at the landing and then took a 4 o'clock cruise. I couldn't believe it.
Well, when you're in Boston for such a short time, you gotta, I guess, do everything you gotta jam it in.
So.
But that is, yeah, I don't know. I went straight to the couch for a little while. So. I'll be quick. I'm sure you guys are busy. Two fairly large gun incidents over on like the commercial Atlantic Street area. We'll start 8:15 in the afternoon, in the evening, I should say. 450 Commercial Street. We had a pretty large motor vehicle crash. That was one guy over by the Pink Flamingo. I know it's kind of in the north end. He was trying to make a U-turn in the middle of that Commercial Street area, which is very dangerous. Do you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So he tried to make a U-turn in that Commercial Street area, and he got T-boned by a vehicle coming the other way as he was trying. It was a pretty dangerous U-turn to make. So the guy that hit him gets out of the vehicle. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I did something. Hang on 1 second.
Okay.
Go ahead, keep talking.
Okay, so yeah, the guy tries to make a U-turn, the other guy T-bones him. The guy that T-bones him gets out and starts screaming at the 3 parties that are in the other vehicle, stating that he has a gun, yelling, kind of acting extremely erratic. Then he runs across the street, and we had a witness over at Rocco's restaurant. One of the waiters state that not only did they hear him state he had a gun, but they saw the gun fall to the ground, in which he picks up and puts it in his waistband and starts running off towards the Coast Guard base. Our officers arrive on scene. They're able to find him over there. They don't find any firearm. It's unsure that it actually was a firearm. Sometimes these witnesses, they're under a high stress, and it's a kind of a crazy situation. They did see something fall, and we were able to go back, look at the video surveillance. We saw something fall out of his waistband. It's just too tough at the time, I think, to determine whether it's a firearm or not. We had the gun, cars come down, the dogs come down, just were unable to locate anything. He was placed under arrest. He was pretty cut up. We had to bring him over to the hospital. It was a pretty bad accident. He was placed under arrest for assault with a dangerous weapon, trespassing, and leaving the scene of motor vehicle accident. So we'll continue. They may actually even dive into the water if you see anything in that area, and diving, it could be to look for a firearm. It's unsure at the time if they'll actually go to that extent, but detectives will work the rest of the case. The other firearm incident was at 9 p.m. on Friday. This happened, it started over at the Pink Flamingo. I don't know how familiar it's, once again, it's a little bit more towards the north end. But we had an individual, this was last Friday, the 12th, 9 p.m. He tries to enter the establishment. It turns a little bit into a bar at night, bar lounge type area. He got into a verbal altercation with the bouncer. That's when he lifted up his shirt and brandished a firearm and threatened the bouncer. They call 911. Once we show up, the individual took off running towards like Columbus Park, that area. We catch up with him pretty quickly. He has the firearm on him. He stated that he was from New Hampshire and he didn't need a license. That is not true. I believe he was only 19 years old. He also had a bunch of identification cards from an individual out in Rhode Island on his person. That was not him. So he was placed under arrest, unlawful possession of a firearm, unlawful possession of ammunition, assault by means of a dangerous weapon, and fraudulent identification card. So good work from our officers over there. It's not too often you see guns in this area or threats of guns of violence. But obviously it is out there. We are in the city, and you know, just call 911 if you guys feel that anything doesn't look right. And then just a couple more. We had a B&E at East India Row and India Street, 3:45 in the morning on March 22nd. We had a call come in, stated that they saw an individual rummaging around a Toyota Highlander in that area. Officers get there, it's dark out, do a couple loops around the block. They finally find the car. Guy's in the back seat. He's unable to provide any documentation or connection to that vehicle. He started making up which appeared to be numerous lies on that it was his boss's car, and you know, was just unable to really provide anybody to talk to that stated it was their car, any documentation, no keys. And when he was in the car, the no key detected light kept popping in. So I thought that was pretty interesting. There was no key at all in the area. They placed him under arrest for breaking and entering a motor vehicle at nighttime. That's some more good police work. And then lastly, we just had a simple assault, once again, late at night, 2:20 in the morning, Saturday, April 6th. We had an individual in his vehicle stopped on Surface Road when someone just ran and hopped into his vehicle, and it looked as though he had been punched, and he was telling the guy to drive. The guy was kind of confused. Obviously, someone just enters your vehicle with like a bloody nose or swelling around his face. And so the guy gets out and he's trying to open the back door seat to get this guy out of the vehicle and maybe get him some help. And that's when a group, which most likely I would lead to believe will let detectives work the case, but they started beating up the other guy whose car it was. He was finally able to get back in his car and get out of there. So he didn't want any medical attention. So knock on wood, that you know, wasn't too bad, but just kind of scary, especially that hour, obviously, right? You're sitting in your car alone. Car should be locked. You need to be aware. Crazy stuff like this can happen, especially if people are out there drinking and stuff. So overall, like I said, weather's better, it's great, but obviously, you're gonna see more people in your neighborhood. You might see some crime, but hopefully not. Most of the people out there are here to visit the city or live in the city, doing good things. Just we always need to be cognizant, and you guys, you're in a great neighborhood.
Great. Happy that that's the case, and happy to have your help keeping it safe for us. So
Thank you.
as we always say, we are incredibly appreciative of what you do for us.
We appreciate that. So if you need anything from us, you have my email number, Captain, whatever it may be. So just reach out. I'll hang on the call for a little bit if you need anything.
Any questions?
I just had one more
Go
comment.
ahead. Yeah.
I'm so glad that Sheila was out of town for the last District A1 community meeting. I went in her stead, and it was really great to get the different neighborhoods together. And it was my first time going to one of those collective meetings, and it was great to have Sergeant Crossan and Captain Martin. Oh, there's Councilor. So anyway, it was a terrific meeting, and I was really glad to be a part of that. And I think I'm going to have to tag along with Sheila next time.
I'm sure you're always welcome.
It is a great. Your time. Perfect. Great. Thank you
Thank
again.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've just been joined by Councilor Santana. Thank you very much for joining us. I can step aside. A couple of seats here if you'd like. Hi, Mark Martin. Nice to see you. Just one together. You're in. Sure, yeah. I think it's perfect timing. We regularly, as I think you all know, ask our councilors to let us know what they're working on and hear from us a little bit. And this is the occasion for, I think this is actually the first time that you've been here since you've been in office. So congratulations on your election. How's it going?
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll answer that first. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a beautiful day. And just so honored to be with you all today. Like I said, I'm Santana. I'm newly elected Boston City Councilor at large here in Boston. I'm in my 4th month in my role. Right now, I'm really just focused on trying to meet with as many community groups, with as many residents, visit as many schools, businesses, right? Really trying to make sure that people have access to me, and that they know that my office is available, that they know they have a new city councilor at the at-large level, replacing an office, right? And Michael Florie, he's there for 20 years, right? And I understand that people are used to that, so I just want to make sure that I'm as successful as possible as an at-large council. I'm very committed to representing every single neighborhood in the city of Boston, and I want to show up in every single neighborhood because of that. And like I mentioned, in my role, I have the honor to be chairing 2 very active board committees, right? These are 2 committees that I personally requested. These are 2 issues that I personally ran on, and they're very personal to me in general. That being education, one of them, right? I think my priority, when I ran is like really our youth. What we're really doing to make sure that we're setting up our youth for the next for the next step. And I think because of that, we touch on so many issues. So when you're talking about obviously our schools, but also like how do we keep our youth to be here in Boston, right? And that's housing affordability. How do we make sure that we're keeping people safe? That's public safety. So I think it's so integral. Just being able to focus on that, other issues it touches. And the other active and very important committee that I want to chair is public safety. And that can be so many different things, right? I often talk about, especially as we're heading up into summer, and we saw last summer, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, playing in a park, and we're losing to gun violence, and I know a lot of it, people talk about this very same city compared to other cities, and I believe that we have the best police force, and we're doing all the right things there. But I am seeing that the violence that we're we're seeing here in the city, is very practical. And I think it's just, a lot more investments in programming for our youth, for our seniors, for our families. And then also this idea of, how are we keeping people safe, but then also how do we make sure that people feel safe? That's also when you're talking about, our pedestrian safety and, our bike lanes, and being very intentional with that, and just safety across, for all of our residents. So, I take these two communities very, very personal. I understand that as a new city councilor, but that, we're using that, given the honor to chair, two very, committees like this, but, I believe that, with, I think 5 new city councilors, we're turning a page on city council where, we're really looking together to work with each other. We're really looking, to really be out there and, not just make decisions on our own, but really, make sure that the community and residents are informing our decisions. I want to leave room for questions, but, I'll end with saying, this is a real honor for me. Just a little bit of background myself. I grew up in Mission Hill, Alice Taylor BHA apartments. I grew up through the Boston public school system, so I'm a part of the after-school programs, summer programs here in the city of Boston, Boston public schools, of course. And I've had the honor to work also at City Hall. So even though I'm new to this position, upon graduating, I was working with former councilor Kenzie Bach, helped her get elected, and then I worked in her district office as her Mission Hill, as a director of operations in Mission Hill Federal Liaison. And then I had the honor of joining Mayor Wu, 2 years ago as her director, or inaugural director, civic organizing for the city of Boston. And if you've ever participated in, Love Your Blog, or if you've ever participated, using the City Hall to Go Truck program, those were the things that I was in charge of, oversaw in that office. And we thought that was a big time. But I've been in the City Hall administration. And I think to be an effective city councilor, when you're talking about constituent services and really, really paying attention to your residents. I think it's about who gets the job done. I believe that I've been in this space for so long, build relationships with so many, not just like political figures, but like people who are on the ground fixing the potholes and taking out the trash. Like I build relationships across departments, and as a former city councilor, I know how much staffers do, right? And because of that, I'm very honored to have the team that I do. I have two amazing staffers with me here today. One of them being Indus Johnson, and who's my director of constituent services, but who's also coming from 311, right? If any of you have used 311, 311 is so connected to so many departments. Very honored to have her. She's the one that for anything that you may need in constituent service level goes through Indus, and we're very honored to have her. Many of you may know the gentleman next to her, and Matthew Brody, who joined my office as Director of Policy and Communications, and has done amazing work, not just in the nearby neighborhoods, but across the city of Boston. Someone who's been civically engaged for so many years, and also incredibly intelligent and smart. So very honored to have him as my policy director. And yeah, so I think I'll finish by saying we just want to be as successful as possible. We want to make sure that we're coming to these meetings, meeting with you all, not just in the good times, but also in the bad times, right? I want to make sure that we're not just communicating, whenever we need something from each other, that we're really building and supporting each other. So just very honored to be here. Happy to answer any questions that you probably have. Great.
Well, so glad you had a good time.
Yeah. Councilman, when you were running, we had a chance to talk, and at the risk of repeating myself, I guess I would like to share with everybody else the fact that we have two major issues that we're working on, and I know that you are aware of them. I just want you to be able to hear the support for these as I discussed it with you earlier. One, obviously, is the whole issue of climate resilience. And we've been working hard at that. We have a lot more to do because we haven't actually built anything yet, but we're making good progress in terms of design. And we'll be meeting with the Corps of Engineers. We have a meeting coming up, the next couple of weeks to sort of talk about how we're going to coordinate the city's efforts and the Army Corps' efforts with our design and what they're doing for Baltimore. So I hope that that will come to fruition and that we'll be able to work together on making that productive use of everybody's time and hopefully keep us dry. The second thing is this whole issue about State Street, and I know you're aware of that. And I just, pedestrian safety is incredibly important. We've seen some tragedies lately, and we have presented a plan for a Milk Street bike lane that will reduce the amount of congestion between pedestrians, vehicles, and bikes on State Street, which is very narrow. And we have been having a very, very difficult time working with Transportation Department. I know you have heard this. And so I just want to have other people echo the fact that we are not whiners. We're not complainers. We are not anti-bike people. We have proposed a better bike than just jamming it onto State Street. And we really hope that, well, obviously we talked to Councilor Coletta about this, and Councilor Flynn. They're very well aware of what we've been working on. We have a serious proposal that is supported by our entire community. It is an alternative proposal, and it is safer, and it makes more sense to everybody, except for one person. So we would ask that you, I don't even know whether this is something that a counselor at large can put, but.
Yeah, and by that one, they just come about the administration level person.
Yeah.
Right, so, yeah, so I think, right, I'm glad to hear, I'm very aware of this. I know we talked about this, and, first, thank you for all your work, having to see all this. I know, these are, oftentimes, it's a thankless job, and I think it just shows how much you care about your community. More importantly, the safety of our residents, right? I think, as I mentioned before, public safety, and being safe and actually feeling safe, something that I'm committed to. Campaign I often talked about, losing my brother to a car accident back in 2016, and the tragedy that happened occurred for my family during that time. And I often say no parent should have to bury their own child. And I think to your point, most recently we're seeing a lot of these stories, right? And I think these are preventable things, right? And so I'm absolutely committed, to the public safety. I think there's opportunities here. I think one thing, and I mentioned, I think in our call last summer, I want to be, as someone who's coming from the administration, right? I have relationships with a lot of people, BTD, and this shouldn't be the case, but it's the reality, right? So I just want to make sure. I'm happy to also, really help amplify that relationship, making sure that, the decisions that we're making shouldn't be made without residents. And I know that, as elected officials, we have responsibilities as, to look as a whole and look towards the future. But this particular situation, I have to take it further review. I think this is absolutely one of those positions where if you feel, as you say, that you have the whole community behind this one project, and it increases public safety, and it makes more sense, right? I think it's something that the administration should be thinking.
We're working hard, and fortunately, I've had a chance to talk to the mayor, so she's aware of it. I don't know, please.
Sorry, hi, Chris Crompton, Old Town Trolley Tours. Thank you for being here tonight. I think the source of the frustration is that there's no ability to engage with anyone. That's the problem. It's we've tried for several years now every possible avenue or route you could imagine. I've accompanied my colleagues and friends to meetings at City Hall, and every single one of them, without fail, is just closed door. there's just this complete refusal to engage.
And it's BTD,
Primarily, it's
Primarily.
BPD, the streets department, yeah.
and what, you mentioned.
By the way, the rezoning process is going great, and exactly the opposite approach.
Okay,
And,
They're engaging you.
yeah,
and I think the frustration is that you get so many scenarios where an administration will do something and, you know, an association resident will complain about it. Nobody here is just complaining about it. We're actually saying, okay, there's a problem, but here's a solution. And it's the fact that there is an alternate solution that in many people's opinions, and not just Joe Public's opinion, people who know much more about this topic than I ever will, are saying that this is a good solution. This solution actually works. It's the complete refusal of anyone in the administration to even consider this as an alternate solution. It's like, we made a decision, which at the time nobody knew about, and I know nobody knew about it, because we turned up one day, and we run the trolley, so we have stops, and we had a trolley stop on State Street, which was licensed by BPD and BTD. We turned up one day and it was gone. And what did we tell all our customers that were waiting there saying, where's the trolley going to stop? So it was just done with no engagement or process at all. And so a decision was made. So collectively, Wharf District Council and many other organisations went to the city and said, hey, here's an alternate. No, we've already made our mind up.
Including all folks with the pen,
Yeah.
because it really affects them as well.
But it's just this complete refusal to even look at the alternative, to say, well, okay, let's look at it and let's evaluate.
so you believe that they haven't even been, they haven't reviewed and
Well,
considered?
I mean.
Lip service,
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
I would say.
There is no perfect solution, right?
Yeah.
Streets in Boston are narrow, and they don't go, exactly where you want to go, so, but as Chris says, we know the neighborhood, right? And they have a very large portfolio of streets that they need to take care of, and we believe in a bike system, but that is robust and that's in everyone's interest. This just happens to be the wrong solution. Bobby, I know that you've been at this for a long time. Is there anything that you'd like to say on this topic?
I would just add that Councilor Flynn had at one point proposed a public meeting on the issue, and anything that you can do to help push forward that public meeting, I think would be very appreciated. I'm a business owner and a property owner on State Street, and we fully support everything the Wharf District Council has been doing, and feel the same way. All of the property owners, we pay taxes in the city, and we show up when the city needs us, but it's just been lip service, and there's been no effort at all to actually accommodate our requests.
Oh, absolutely. I think that might have, that's why I take care of. Office. I want to be responsible. No decision should be made without community input. And oftentimes, I think what I'm hearing a lot is we're hearing other neighborhoods, right? Like, even if there's a community process, oftentimes the decision already feels made.
Well, we were told.
Right? And some situations, so, and I think that's something that, even though, again, coming from the administration, I think, there's many things that we abide on, we'll do those kind of things that I actually absolutely want to push back against, and believe that the show is a community process. So, you're actually able to make an impact, so I'm happy to connect with that Thnx office, and see kind of where they left off there, and see how we can kind of.
Great, and I know the aquarium has written a letter to the mayor as well. Joanne, I see you have a question.
Yes, I do. Thank you. First, Mark, I wanted you to know it's a little difficult to understand the counselor. I don't know if it's the mic he's at, because you and the other gentleman speaking have been clear. But welcome, counselor. It's wonderful to have you here at the Wharf District Council. I live at Harbor Towers. I'm a resident, almost 30-year resident. And today in the paper, there was an article about the mayor wanting to bring the BPDA, the Planning Commission, into City Hall physically. And in reading the article, it was comment after comment after comment from leaders of local organizations in Roxbury, Fort Point Channel, other places, about how over the years, the BPDA would say, here's the plan, this is what we're doing. Oh, now we're gonna have a public meeting. So we've all seen this, sleight of hand, circus show for years and years, and the transportation department is doing the exact same thing. And it is incredibly frustrating for everybody who's worked so hard on this, and they've talked, and I was at one meeting several years ago that the Wharf District Council had. Councilor Flynn brought people together. I was invited to be part of it. And the head of the transportation department actually said to the city councilor, he said, well, it's done. We're done. And at that time, Flynn was the president of the city council, and he was shut down by an employee, not an elected official. So I think this is one of the most egregious things I've seen, and I've seen a lot of things. So I hope as a new city councilor, you'll really take this to heart, because it just continues the same thing, the shoving down people's throats of what does not work. We know, we live here, we know what works. And this may look good on paper, but it won't look good in reality.
So really appreciate you sharing that, and again, I'm committed to that. So my team and I will absolutely work on this, and again, connect with your district counselor.
And, I think it would be worth our walking you through the alternate plan so that you understand the specifics of it, because we're not whiners. We are actually trying to make our city.
Well, just one kind of final line about, I was at that meeting with Joanne, but absolutely right. It was sitting there and, Councilor Lenny, but not to mind. Just, if you say to anybody in the city, what happened tonight, the response you're going to get is, no, we've got a plan to put in bike lanes. Nobody here is saying you shouldn't have bike lanes. This is the argument the city keeps using against us. They keep saying, no, we've got to have this network of bike lanes. Fine, absolutely, have a network of bike lanes. I'm a cyclist. I think a network of bike lanes is a wonderful thing, but put them in the right place. That's what we're saying.
Exactly.
It's not don't put bike lanes in, it's just put them in the right place. State Street is the wrong place.
Absolutely.
And if I may just pile on. And engage in a process that really takes into consideration community members, the impacts on residents, businesses, so forth. And I've been to other community meetings where it has been out and out, they're just against bike lanes. That is not the case with us.
Yeah.
We are problem solvers. We try to make constructive suggestions. And this plan, which has had a lot of thought put into it, has not even yet been seriously considered. So any help you can do, and I think checking in with Councilor Flynn and kind of seeing where he kind of left off with that effort, and also engaging with Councilor Coletta, who now
Represents
much of this district now is in Councilor Coletta's district. And just to shift gears for a moment, going back to both of the issues that we talked about, education and public safety and our young people. And a question that occurred to me is, if you could think back to your younger self and your 14, 15-year-old self, and what made the difference for you? Like, what, given your own experience and also just what you've seen, in, not only in your growing up, but in your involvement in city government, what do you see as what is lacking in prevention or in
education.
So what is the missing piece that, part of it is, you go ahead.
No, to you, that's a great question. And I think to the education piece, right? I didn't mention this in my my opening remarks, but I went to Boston Public Schools K through 8, right? And then I had the opportunity to then go to an independent boarding school for high school called, it was in Maine, Freiburg Academy, very small town in Freiburg. Probably nobody's ever heard of it.
I know.
Or people have known, maybe forgot. So and I often talk about my experience there, right? First, I had got into the Burke High School, coming out of 8th grade, and I was valedictorian, and I, you know, my parents and we heard all these things about the Burke. I wanted to be challenged, and we wrote to, you know, to BPS, and we never heard back, right? So I want to say I wanted to stay here. I wanted to, you know, be in Boston, but this opportunity came where I had the opportunity to, you know, go to a boarding school, and I wouldn't have changed it, but what really, you know, made it for me was that I really felt that investment. You know, there was a building for math and English. There was a science building. We had a library on campus. We had a fitness center. You know, baseball fields, basketball court, and I truly felt invested in, right? And I mean, and those are things that you can see. But even, you know, with my classmates, when, you know, laptops, my parents didn't get, the school offered that, right? The IT4 calculators that everyone had, you know, the school offered. So I didn't feel behind in any way, and I truly felt invested by the school. And in return, I felt like I really wanted to invest back into that school, right? For the first time, I was valedictorian, but I really felt like I was reading my books from you know, not just like searching, you know, the summaries. I was, you know, spending extra times with teachers because they were providing that time after class, right? And I think back to here in Boston, and if you go into Boston public schools, then you have broken ceilings, and you have bathrooms that are not working, and you have markers that teachers can barely write with, right? What investments are we showing our teachers, our students, and our families? And in return, what investments are they going to get back, right? And I think we all know about the investments we are making per child. One of the, you know, if they're the highest, you know, in the United States in terms of per student we're spending in our BPS schools. But where's that money going? Where is that money being seen? And I think right now, as chair of education, those are the questions that I'm really asking. And I want to make sure that the investments that we're making, which are significant investments, right, are actually being seen in the classroom. And I think that's what did it, you know, for me, really. Like this school gave me everything that I could possibly ask for, and I felt because of that I was, you know, musicals for the first time, something that I was never exposed to, right? Like I was yearbook editor, never a great writer, and everything. But allowed me to grow and to experience, right? I think that's what we need to be. That's what our Boston Public, that's what our students deserve. And we're not doing that in most of our schools here. And I think in public safety, I think it's a little bit more complicated because again, some things are just going to happen, right? And I think again, we going back to statistically, Boston is doing well, right? Whatever that means, and but I think again, going to my idea of like we're feeling safe and actually being safe, and I think you know, that's the way I'm approaching it. I'm trying to again meet with. I'm not trying to recreate the wheel, and as you mentioned earlier, you're the residents of these neighborhoods, right? You're living in here, so why am I going to come here and pretend that you know what makes you safe here and what you need here, and what you need here is not the same thing you need in Chinatown, you know, and downtown and Roxbury, West Roxbury. So I think into a public safety approach, there are citywide approaches that we need to take, but I think we need to be more intentional on neighborhood to neighborhood, and honestly, street to street sometimes, right? Like, so that's the approach that I'm taking onto that. But I'm not going to try to recreate the work. I know the residents are the experts here.
I'll make sure I leave room for other
Do you want to
folks.
make that last point?
Well, yes, we don't have to get into it in depth, but I did want to just say that I was a resident for a long time, first in Dorchester for about 30 years. I was in Fields Corner for a long time, and then I was in my last 10, 11 years was in Grove Hall. So I know Dorchester very well. For a bunch of reasons, we had to downsize and we moved into the North End. So now I live in the North End and we work in the Wharf district. But I went the street to street, you know, our street, I knew my neighbors and we all looked out for each other, and, you know, not too many blocks over, you know, you wouldn't want to be there at 2 a.m. I mean, there's the stuff going on, and the prevalence of guns is the proliferation of guns is here as it is in many parts of our country. So that's the one ask I have that Mark is referring to that we could really use help with, especially from the at-large councilors, is to really to help us to help us help other parts of the city understand what the Wharf District neighborhood is, what it is, where it is, and where we are in the scheme of things.
As Matthew understands this one, right?
Yes.
We are a,
Where is this map from?
this is for the BPDA, and this is one of the disconnects. So this is a BPDA map, which is often referred to, and I think it's from 2007 was the last update. And there is no Wharf District here. And there's another webpage that has a whole list of all the neighborhoods in Boston, and Wharf District is not there. Now, if you go to the City of Boston page, they'll have a whole list of neighborhoods, and there's the Wharf District. So, yes. Yeah, so there's the big list, there's Wharf District is not there, even though the Wharf District is an officially recognized neighborhood of the city of Boston, as far as city services and neighborhood services goes. And Brianna Milor has been terrific. She's gotten to know us and knows what our issues are. And all I ask is, and I know, look, you're your fourth month. My goodness, and the at-large counselors have an especially a big learning curve to get to know each of these neighborhoods, each of which is unique and has their own issues and demands.
Yeah.
So and that's one thing we could really use help is in bridging this gap of understanding that the Wharf District is a neighborhood where people live and work, and we advocate for our neighborhood. It's a very, it's a great mix. It's the 50-yard line tourism. I work for Boston Harbor City Cruises, so.
Okay, so yeah.
We're right there, we're crossing Banner Hall Marketplace, there's the general manager of Banner Hall Marketplace. And we also are part of what is sometimes referred to as the financial district, which is not really a neighborhood, but it's a part of our neighborhood. So just gaining that understanding yourself and bearing that in mind as you continue to do your work on behalf of our neighborhood, but that would really be appreciated.
I'm 100% committed to that. And, I mentioned when I was, working for the mayor as a director of civic organizing and my first time planning Love Your Block, I looked at the city website, City of Boston website, like copied all the website, the neighborhoods, and Wharf District wasn't there. And I presented it to, the Office of Neighborhood Services, and Sierra, who's, your ONS liaison, who does amazing work, and the Wharf District is not there, right? And it's like, it's not in the, and it's like, so, I'm very familiar with this issue, with the situation, and also have, Matthew and I have spoken multiple
We
times.
made progress. Yeah, really.
No, but it needs to be identified, it should never be left out. And it just needs to be, part of that. So I think, I'm 100% committed to that, in whatever ways, that I can definitely do, be supportive of that, I can do that. So,
Thank you, really appreciate it.
absolutely.
Great. Well, we look forward to staying in touch and to hopefully getting together with you and sharing with you this alternate
proposed, yep.
approach that we have that we're hoping will make sense. And, there's no perfect solution, but we think that we have a better one, and we're hoping that.
Is there anybody else on Zoom who has a question?
Yeah.
That's
a good question. Anybody else have any questions for Councilor?
Oh, there's Sierra. Hey,
Yeah,
Sierra.
sorry.
Oh, there she is.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Counselor.
Yeah.
Sierra, thank you for all your help.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you guys for always being awesome and advocating for everything you guys want and need.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we'll also be in touch with you all in terms of follow-ups,
Great.
with Kalana and Flint's office. Great. Well, thank you. No,
Thank you
for
so
your
much
time.
for coming by.
Appreciate it. Yes, yes, sir.
Oh, really? I'm sorry. Where's my chat?
That's right. That's the one with the.
Chat, there we go. Let's
Oh,
see.
there we go.
Yeah. What thought do you have regarding proposal for the city to have more control over BPDA? Thanks for fixing the audio. I think that was.
I think that was, now the BPDA would now be under the city, right? I think one thing that the city council really fought for, it was just passing the city council, was the oversight of the city council, making sure that we're holding BPDA accountable, and I think it is a good thing in terms of the planning that we can do, that we can actually, like, city departments tend to, work together more closely, and with the BPDA being an outside agency, it was just never, when we're talking about environment, we're talking about, it was just, they weren't conversations we were all having at the same time. And I think with this move, we will have it.
I do hope that the city council will take a second look at Councilor Mejia's amendment that she proposed, which was to have a community oversight committee. I don't know if committee is the right word, or some type of community-based organization that would have input. Because just as we've talked about, the BPDA had problems with engaging with the communities. We don't want that to continue to be a problem. I understand the council going ahead and passing that legislation, but I was disappointed that her amendment didn't get added to it. And I hope there's still an opportunity to revisit what Councilor Mejia put forward and possibly add that on, because I think that's an important piece moving forward.
No, absolutely, we're looking to that. I think for that piece, I think it was like trying to be, it was trying to be added on like at the last second, and it was
Right,
like,
right.
that's when it gets complicated.
Understood.
But no, I think that's very important. I think, again, I'm big up pro community, and so someone who
Yes, I can tell.
ran because of the problems we're all, discussing here, I'm absolutely committed to that. So,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you again.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair,
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Just one thing, just because in the office while we were chatting, I was just there to track down, it's almost our meeting and. So
Yes,
it's
it's
just.
Yes, thank you for that, Matt.
No worries. Thank you.
So I see that Jenny just sent this. Huh.
How do we do it?
It's weird. All right, so we are going to hear from Jenny Morse. Pardon, no, they're on my phone, but they're not on my.
I can forward you the.
No, I don't understand how that, you sent them to there, and I found this.
I'm gonna forward this to you, Mark.
Well, you can try.
Unable to attach. Oh, the attachment failed to load. Jenny? Oh, it's a link rather than.
No, I have this. Oh, it's 14 meg.
Do you have it as an attachment or as a link? Because I only got it as I only got it as a link, not as a PDF. Thank you. Oh, yes, I see it. I'm gonna forward it to you, Mark.
No, I got it. I just have it on,
It's way down the bottom.
it's
Says unable to attach. One or more attachments failed to load.
a big file. While I keep looking for this, Adam, would you like to, do you mind?
No, not at all.
Tell folks why you're here.
Hello, everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces. My name is Adam Shoke, the general manager over at Austin Beach in the Rose Wharf. I'm here just where we've noticed an influx of a lot of late night diners. So our kitchen closes at around 11 o'clock. We've had a lot of people come in closer to 11 o'clock. It takes about an hour and a half to an hour and 45. I've seen a lot of you in there. It takes some time, especially with Italian dining. People want after dinner drinks, desserts, cappuccino, espresso. So we noticed that with our 12 o'clock license, a lot of people feel like they're rushed to leave, especially residents of the Harbor Towers and the Rose Wharf residents. So we just wanted to extend our license an hour later, just to make it comfortable for people to finish up their meals and not feel rushed, especially on weekends. It's not so much on the weekdays. We close a little bit earlier on weekdays, but on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it tends to be, not rushing people out, but kind of maybe they feel that way. So we didn't want to complicate things, and we just said, well, why don't we just go for the 1 o'clock license? That way, people can enjoy themselves while we finish cleaning up the restaurant and closing it down. So that's pretty much it.
So the ask is,
We want to extend our license, which is currently midnight.
Yeah.
To 1 a.m. So instead of it being,
so no changes in terms of what you're offering, it's just a,
just to say, people can relax and enjoy their meals. And it's usually a lot of the residents that are coming in that night anyway, because maybe they're just gonna walk right home to the Harbor Towers or upstairs to the residents. And the hotel goers as well.
Questions? I don't have to stand that late, do
But in the summertime, it tends to be a lot, heavier volume. So.
At the end of our meeting, we will go into executive session and we will forward to Suzanne, who's unfortunately ill and was not able to join us this evening, but she will then write up and you send it to whomever she's supposed to send it to.
Sounds great. All right.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get back on the restaurant. Nice to see everybody.
Thank you.
See you again soon.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Appreciate it.
There we go.
oh my gosh.
Just takes a long time to get through. Okay, so, thank you for doing that. Wonderful. All right, ready.
All right, well, it's just so nice to be here with you all. I know a lot of you, but if I don't, my name is Jenny Harding. I manage Faneuil Hall Marketplace right across the street. I've been there about 5 years now, coming up on 5 years in June. And next slide, please. I know the news on everybody's lips is around our new ownership. So they have taken on the ownership of Faneuil Hall as of February 1st. This is the J. Safra Real Estate Group.
Will you say it again? It's the what?
J. Safra Real Estate. And so it's a big change for us, obviously, and a very welcome one. We're really excited about this and their new energy. They have been incredible to work with so far. I have only incredible things to say about them and the direction that they're choosing to take so far at the property. It's definitely new territory for them. They are a real estate group, but they don't have any properties like this one in their portfolio yet. And now they do, and they're definitely hitting the ground running. They've been very engaged so far, and what I really appreciate is that they're listening and they're taking it all in before, jumping into any sort of drastic changes. So, so far, the biggest thing that we've done to date is change our security company, which may seem like a small thing to outside folks, but to us, that's a very significant part of what we do, what we offer to services to our tenants. So we have 24/7 security. This new company, Allied Universal, is a huge global security company, and they're implementing all sorts of new technology where we can track, incidents that happen across the property and try to be proactive about that using real data. So
May I ask, Jenny, do you mind if I?
Please,
Um,
jump in.
what other types of property, do they specialize in certain types of properties? It is the first sort of festival marketplace they have.
Yeah.
What is their specialty or their?
I don't know if they have a specialty. They definitely have some very modern office buildings, like in New York, in Miami. They have the Gherkin in London. So this is new for them. Certainly the volume of tenants that we have is new for them. But they are very reasonable people. They've been very positive, energetic, collaborative so far. You know, we've had some really exciting meetings with people from the city, people from Meet Boston. It's really encouraging to see that level of engagement, something that we have not had before. So far, they're doing amazing. You know, the bar was pretty low, but they've been great. They've been really great. And they've actually opened a branch of the Software Bank in this building. So I think that also further shows their commitment to Boston and their commitment to the area. New York. Yeah. The company is really they have many different, you know, types of the businesses within the software name. So they have the Software Bank, and then they have J Software Real Estate. So it's the same software name, but very different entities. So they're all tied together, but a little bit different.
Are there any other initiatives you can mention besides security?
Yeah, so we're definitely going to be doing a lot of capital improvements in the next year. So lots of brickwork, lots of granite work. We're currently in the process of getting bids from masonry companies to do essentially the entire property over. And it's a big project that we'll be doing in sections, but they've made it clear they want to hit the ground running. So I think later this year, we should all expect to see some sites around Quincy Market, bricks being laid and granite being restored.
So are you keeping where's the balance between the historic
Yes.
restoration and the accessibility thing, which is?
Exactly. So we have essentially two different types of work that we'll be doing, and one is around brick and one is around cobblestone and granite. So think granite wise in the west end between historic Faneuil Hall and Quincy Market, that's all granite that we can lift up and reset to make it more level and make the joints closer together. So there's not those huge gaps in between the pieces of granite. So it'll make it much flatter, not, completely level, but as best we can to create that, for safety and just appearance. Yeah, accessibility. And then the bricks we are able to replace. So the bricks that are currently in front of Sephora, that was part of the big Sephora project, those bricks are nice and beautiful. You can walk right on those with high heels, no problem. Those we will be using and extending down for all the brick sections. So the bricks we are allowed to replace, the granite and the cobblestones we only restore. So we will keep what is existing. So it's definitely a balance and a huge project for whoever this masonry contractor ends up being. But historic Faneuil Hall as well will be resetting all of the granite and cobblestones outside of that building in the fall. So we've actually reached out to their contractor as well to see if, there's some synergy there where they're already here doing.
That's a separate entity.
Yes, yeah, so that's city. That's a city project.
Is there a time scale for replacing all of that? Do you have it mapped out yet?
Not yet. So at least for the west end and the north park, which is what we're slating to do the entire west end and the entire north park over the winter.
Okay.
So
Wow.
timeline, still to be determined. But the South Park where the trolley kiosk is located, we have 5 different sections that we hope to start in the fall.
I was actually thinking more, not just for where we are, but
Mhm.
in July 2026, which is going to creep up on us fairly quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Probably going to be fairly busy around Faneuil Hall,
Yes.
full of treasonous rebels, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
We have enough time to
Yeah.
do this entire project before then. And that is something that's very much on our radar, and creating some sort of celebration around not just the 250th for Massachusetts, but the 200th anniversary of Quincy Market, which is the same year.
Oh, my God.
So it's, that'll be a very exciting time. Yeah.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah.
You don't want to make the king angry.
No, we do not. No, we do not.
Do you anticipate a change in what the marketplace will look like? What
It
it look like? What it will offer, what it will have?
Yes, I do. I think that we can expect a very positive change in that regard. Actually, in my next slides, I do go through kind of what is new as of last year. So last year we had a ton of new businesses open inside Quincy Market and beyond that. So a real emphasis on local brands inside Quincy Market, high quality product, something that really sets the bar a little higher for the kind of food that you can find. So vegan offerings, we have halal food now, to really give visitors more options and better options than what has been existing there. We did also have 2 restaurants open, which is on the next slide. Just kidding. These are the retail, but still more local retailers.
Yeah.
So while Build-A-Bear did open, and also just for context, these were all under the previous ownership. I think that the new ownership really wants to emphasize local brands even more so. So, Rustic Marlin, all handmade, locally owned, locally made wooden signs. They're in the North Market building. Radical Adventures, bike rentals and bike repair. North Market building. Cooperatives is not an escape room, but a puzzle room. So very interactive, good for families. They're in the old Dick's Last Resort space right now. So it's a pop-up. Ideally, it will find a restaurant to go in there, but instead of having an empty space, they're filling that gap. And then the next slide has the new restaurants. So Sugar Factory in Margaritaville, both opened on the end caps of the South Market and North Market buildings, with really big footprints. And, so far Sugar Factory opened in December, Margaritaville opened in October. And they're ready for the summer season, not local brands, but as far as tourism goes, they're big names, they're strong names, and people have been excited about them so far.
Gonna come straight off the cruise ships and into Margaritaville.
That's right, yeah. Okay, what did I?
We could always use another beer hall, so maybe.
Yeah, oh, question, yeah.
2 unrelated questions.
Sure.
Do you anticipate a lot more new businesses coming in the next year? And after that, what's?
I think that we can expect some,
Like, are there a lot of vacancies?
we have some vacancies, yes. I'd say we have 5 storefronts that are currently vacant, plus the second floor of Quincy Market where Uniqlo and most recently the Dino Safari exhibit was. We are talking internally with the new ownership about what that space could become, and they have some really exciting ideas, very out of the box thinking for the use of that space. timeline wise, not sure yet. I think that they really want to be clear about their vision before, you know, making any sort of long-term decisions. But they're very creative thinkers and they have some really cool ideas. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Second question, are there any plans to increase like bicycle parking around the marketplace? I feel like it's kind of lacking.
Definitely lacking, yes. We have a couple bike racks. But it is certainly something that we could use more of. Yeah. Ties in great to our bike lane conversations.
Sure.
Yes, yeah.
So Jenny, only 5 are vacant out of how many total?
Oh, boy, we probably have, as far as retail and restaurant storefronts, probably around 30 to 35. If we combine, Quincy Market is 100% full, and Quincy Market 30 food stalls. We still have the vacant Cheers space, which we are hopeful will become a beer garden this summer. We're in talks with a local brewery to take that space and create a lovely beer garden out on the patio there, but.
Who fucked that up? That's John. Oh, John, here you go.
So it's small in terms of, you know, the number of storefronts that are vacant, but there's a lot of interest. I think the new ownership just is, they want to get a handle on things before deciding, you know, any long-term leases. Our street performers are back, especially this week with the great weather. So we're excited to have them back. It's a mix of, you know, local musicians as well as world traveling performers. So a lot of them really are professional street entertainers. They travel the globe doing this. So it really is very special that they make Quincy Market their home base. So we welcome them back.
Let's see, Brad has a question.
Oh, hi, Brad.
I have to unmute. I just wanted to say one thing, which is that we, the Wharf District Council, is really blessed to have Jenny Morse in our midst because she's one of the very best members of the Greenway, and she knows this neighborhood and she knows all of us, and one of the most caring people. So go, Jenny. Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
want to
Brad.
second that. This is Sierra, liaison. She's the best.
It is, it's been, you know, very rewarding to be part of the Greenway board and the Greenway Business Improvement District board. So I love, you know, getting to work with Brad, getting to work with all of you is really special.
Great. Can you talk just a little
Yeah.
bit about how these entertainers get chosen? I mean, I know there's some
Yeah.
kind of process, right?
Yes, there is. I know a lot of people just think that they show up and that's what they do, but we have a very robust program that they all opt into. So we have a set of strict rules and regulations they must follow. I actually had to kick somebody out of the program yesterday, you know, incidents happen. So we hold them to a high standard. Within the variety acts, a lot of them, they get to know each other. They go to these festivals. So a lot of them find out about us that way. But a lot of them have been performing here for, you know, 10, 20 years. And then the local musician piece of it, we're really trying to expand upon. So working with colleges and even high schools to bring in some of that talent. And whether they want to join the program for the entire season or they're just interested in coming once in a while, like we really want to cultivate that talent and bring in even more musicians and groups.
Do you publish who the entertainers are?
We have them all on our website.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah. And going right back to one of our bigger events this year is going to be the Ray Samity Art and Music Festival, and this will be their third time bringing this festival to Faneuil Hall. It's sponsored by Ben & Jerry's and Meet Boston. They have an amazing lineup this year with Penn Bagley, who's an actor.
Yes.
Yes, apparently he's also in a band, so his
Yes.
band will be headlining this year, which is
God,
it's
you
pretty huge.
gotta get me in.
Absolutely. So we're excited about that. And then I also have some additional programming and events on here. Yeah, so special performances, you know, that we're hosting throughout the summer. Boston College is bringing a group of musicians. The Greater Boston Chinese Cultural Association is going to be doing a really cool Chinese yo-yo performance. The Navy Brass Band will be here for Harbor Fest, and they'll be performing as part of the, you know, 4th of July festivities. And then, you know, the Rock and Roll Chorus, I believe they're based out of New Jersey. They travel around, so some exciting new things. And then we're also trying to really focus on creating events and programming for residents and families that live in the area. So throughout spring vacation week, we have a series of free programs. We're working with the new F45 fitness centers, with one is currently based in the financial district, and they're also opening one in the same building as Canopy Hotel soon. So they'll be offering a series of free workout classes throughout the summer. These are the dates that we currently have on the books. I expect there will be more. So to really invite people to experience the marketplace in new ways. The Boston Women's Market, we had a really successful holiday market with them throughout the holiday season. They were upstairs in Quincy Market in what's the currently vacant exhibit space. And they loved it so much that we'll be doing sort of a mini series with them on the first Sunday of every month. So they'll have 15 vendors inside the upstairs rotunda. So people can shop from the local vendors and, you know, grab a bite to eat in Quincy Market. Again, trying to focus on that hyper local market and have something new and different.
Great.
And
I think that's your last slide.
I think it is. Those are the events and programming series updates. I did want to also mention they'll be having a hearing April 23rd for the North Market and the South Market buildings to be designated landmarks. So that is also, you know, on the horizon for us. Right now, only Quincy Market holds that designation.
We say they, who is?
The Landmarks Commission.
The Landmarks.
Yes. So that's currently in process. And then my last plug is around the gala, Glow in the Park on the Greenway. I'm really excited to be co-chairing Glow in the Park again this year. So those events are June 6th and 7th, and hope to see you all there. But I am in the neighborhood. I'm very reachable. You know, if anyone ever wants to come over and have a little tour of the marketplace, always happy to provide that as well, or collaborate on ideas that this group might have.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we're thrilled.
Absolutely. This is very good news about the new ownership, and to hear your enthusiasm and your happiness and what you're seeing from them so far is really great to hear.
Yeah.
May I pose a question that I don't think has a definitive answer in this moment, but something to ponder. And I think that, by the way, I just want to interject that I think it's exactly the right thing to make physical improvements to the as a starting point. That's great to hear. Having attended the mock conference recently, were you there at the governor's conference?
It wasn't, no.
It was terrific. It was the first governor's conference on travel and tourism in 10 years, I think it was.
First annual conference.
Yeah. And it was a great conference and great to hear the governor and the lieutenant governor and the executive director of Mott embrace tourism and travel so enthusiastically. one of the questions that we ponder in our business, as your neighbor down here, is how to break out of the winter mindset and what we can do to make Boston a more attractive destination. I think we often resign ourselves to the fact, well, it's the winter time. We can just kind of,
Go to Costa Rica.
right. And other cities do a much better job of programming and, whether it's Toronto, Montreal, even New York,
They don't have any choice.
But it is something that I ponder, and I wonder if that's something you all think about over at Faneuil Hall Marketplace, or can you, Sean, talk about that a little bit?
Definitely. I think that it's something that has been discussed at the city level as well, and how can we create this experience of Boston year round, and how do we do that in the winter months? I think that we have such a unique asset with our indoor space that can help spill into the outdoor space. I came from Vermont, where we did not have a choice either. Like, we had winter 6 months of the year. But there's some really cool things that can be done around, lighting and creative. I mean, the Greenway does a great job. The Greenway is a great example of the winter lights activations that they put on.
We have members that are big fans of the hot tubs and the saunas. Yes.
Yeah, I think, it takes thinking outside of the box and coming up with ideas like that, but it's
Joanne's
certainly on.
showing us the trellis. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I just thought I'd pop that in there because I know Jenny's been part of this over the years, taking candy hearts from idea from Columbus Park into the Greenway and then into the marketplace. And that was one of our missions, was to activate the waterfront when we came up with the idea of doing something. And then our very clever art curator, volunteer board member, Robin Reed, came up with the Tunnel of Love. And there are thousands of people, and they put it on we talked to them from out of town, and New York and different places. They've learned about this, and then they try and put it on their calendar and come every year. So the idea that you can't activate in the winter, we know in Columbus Park, we've been able to do it. And then we always encourage them. The Marriott was very involved this year, as was Joe's, and encourage them to go to the local restaurants and, go ahead, cross the Greenway and go into the marketplace. And I think people working together on something like this, it really should take off. It's a clever idea to begin with. And it just, in the North End, gosh, if they would band into this, and I mean, that is one of the most romantic places with all those wonderful little restaurants. So I congratulate you and wish you well on the new owners and everything that they're doing.
Thank you.
At our last meeting, Mike Nichols from the downtown bid talked a little bit about the public art that they've been doing out there. And I think there's a way to weave these things together, I think.
Yeah.
For those of you who know Jerry Minor, Jerry talked about when he was a kid, they would come down here and ice skate on the harbor. Wow. I don't think we're gonna see that again. That would be cool.
Yeah. It's something that I've looked at, getting an ice rink at the marketplace, and how would that work?
Right, you talked to Stephen about it, because they did it, right? Yeah.
Question, I know the previous ownership wasn't too keen on spending any money. Are we likely to see any investment in marketing, advertising and promoting Quincy Marketplace and Faneuil Hall?
Yes, yes.
To tourists?
To tourists and local residents. Yeah, and I think it's part of a bigger picture conversation that is going on, and it's, how can we reposition the marketplace and not rebrand, but rebrand in a way. But also in doing that, making the offerings there more reflective of the city of Boston and making it more authentically Boston. And I think that those two go hand in hand.
Jerry, do you see Boston Public Market as being a competitor, or is there a way to think about there being some sort of dynamic relationship?
Yeah, no, I think, I don't see them as a competitor. I see them as an amazing neighbor and, you know, someone that offers something very unique to their experience versus the Quincy market experience. You know, I try to be very supportive of that group and I don't think that there's I don't want to say there's not competition within all of the food halls around the city, but you know, I think that they all offer something that's unique to them and for their own little neighborhood. So I think the more that we can all work together, the better. And you know, I love the folks there, and I'm always looking to you know foster those relationships.
Great.
Thanks, Jenny. This is Chelsea from Boston Public Market. I don't know if you realized I was on, but thank you. I just want to echo that we don't view you guys as competition. There's plenty of room in Boston for everyone to help bring visitors and tourists and to service all of our wonderful residents. And while we talk about shoulder season and Mott, Jenny knows this, but the Boston Public Market, in collaboration with the Greenway and a Better City, we received $1 million grant from Mott this past year to promote tourism travel during the shoulder season. So you can check that out at letsexploreboston.com. You'll see a lot of billboards and signage going up around the city. And we have another year of that through fiscal year 2025, where we'll be rolling out even more assets. So, you know, we welcome all collaboration on that too.
That's what I was hoping.
Yeah, you have a question?
I was gonna say, you know, I'm a resident obviously here and, you know, we don't use Quincy Market very much for years and years and years. Although I go back 40 years ago when it first was renovated, and how much people used to come down and use it. I can recommend 20 restaurants in North End. I can't remember recommending anything in the Quincy Market over the past 10 years. Here, say today, I have some new ideas and I have hopefully, you know, give them a program. But is there any more balance between residents and tourists that are here for a couple of hours and they're home again, don't have any vested interest in repeat business or establishing rapport with the businesses over there? It's always been slanted towards visitors, and I understand that. How about for residents, things like fresh food, interesting higher end restaurants, doing something with the North End business owners? They're complaining they don't have outdoor dining. You've got more outdoor dining capacity than probably any square foot in the city of Boston. Why isn't there synergy there? Why doesn't Frank Disraeli have a restaurant in Quincy Market with 50 or 100 outdoor dining seats, and then start fooding the town? Narrow streets. A couple of thoughts that we're thinking about the residents. By the way, when people ask me where to go in Boston, that's business that I think Quincy Market has lost over the years, because I'm not alone in my feelings there. That if you take care of the residents, probably you will have an upper scale, more generous, non-bus load type customer base that'll have all the businesses.
Yes, and I think there has to be room for both. And I think when we think about what residents want, and they want that higher quality food, they want the fresh options. I think tourists want that as well. And I think that if we are providing them with that experience, like that's what they will know with the Quincy Market. You know, right now, there are certain tenants that have gotten away with offering a subpar product for a number of years. And it's very difficult to have that change. You know, one thing that the new ownership has said several times to us is we want there to be change, but change is hard. Change is going to be really hard for a lot of people to take in from the tenant side of things. And there are tenants that have been there for a long time that might not be there long term anymore. But in order to create a new type of experience, those are the hard changes that will have to be made. And I think ultimately it'll provide a better product and a better service to everyone, and everyone will benefit from that.
I think anyone who spells chowder should have said.
I can't promise that.
Well, Things for Kids is a great
Yeah,
cause, because we
yeah.
all wanna take our grandkids and kids over there and.
Yes, yeah.
Any other questions for Jenny? Jenny? I don't see any other moment, but thank you so much.
Okay,
for-
yes, thank you.
for all of this.
Absolutely. We're members now, so.
Yes.
You'll see me all the time.
Thank you.
Thank the new owners, because Quincy Market's one of the most beautiful historic construction in Boston that we shouldn't lose. Thank them for putting the money. into
Yes.
Bringing it back up.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yes. Well,
And we will support it.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
I was gonna say, if it is, with the Landmarks Commission, is that something where you might want to request, would a letter from the Wharf District Council in support of that be something that we could consider? The Landmarks Commission, is that something that's already underway?
Let us know if you need.
Yes.
Okay.
Let us know.
Yeah, I will.
Great.
Thank you.
Terrific, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think that, do we have any other business, anybody else? Yeah,
Just wanted to give everyone a very quick update. At the last meeting, Mark, you brought up about the double-decker bus being granted
Yes.
the stop on the Greenway on State Street in between Atlantic Avenue and Surface Road. Obviously, we spoke about it a little bit at the last meeting. The police officers were here, and Sierra was on the line. I followed up with the police officers and Sierra, emailed Sierra, thank you so much. I swapped a couple of emails with Sierra. Boston Transportation Department, who had granted the stop, got into a little bit of a to and fro with Boston Police Department, because Boston Police Department had not granted the stop, and the stop has now been removed. So the double-decker buses will not be stopping on the Greenway there, on State Street. And instead, they have been allocated a space further down Atlantic Avenue, adjacent to Boston Harbor Garage. So a little bit further south, of where everybody else is. So that, at least that's where it is right now. Things are fluid, but I just wanted to give everyone a quick update.
Thank you. Glad to hear it.
We're going to adjourn into executive session unless anybody else has something that they would like to bring up. I'm looking at the screen, I'm not seeing you.